Hare Krishna devotees. Okay, let me offer prayers to our Guru Parampara and then we can get started. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayurupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uttapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Usbano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhesha Kupasindhu Bevacha Paditana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, thank you. These are the prayers that we offer to our teachers, previous teachers, and Krishna, Radharani, and his associates also. So I'll share my screen after pulling up the verse from Veda base. I'm excited. I don't know about you. I loved reading one more time this section, specifically these couple of verses also, along with the section that we are in. So I'll share my screen. So we'll briefly discuss. Of course, each of these verses itself can be discussed for a long time. So whatever limited relation I have, we can discuss with that some things, and we can. I'm also looking forward to any open discussion that you might have. Anything that you learned today from this, anything that you learned first time today, or anything that reminded you of what you learned some years ago, some months ago, like that. You can share also what you liked from the class, and if you have any questions also, we can discuss to my capacity. I will answer whatever I know. Yeah. So now this is Bhagavad Gita. Most of you might know, in case someone is joining new this time. Basically, what we're doing is Harinam Kirtan Prabhu has organized these sessions, so that way we want to discuss the key verses in Bhagavad Gita. There are about 108 verses in the entire Bhagavad Gita. Many of you might know Bhagavad Gita has 700 slokas or 700 verses. Out of them, 108 are considered key. Of course, there are different number of verses are considered key, but 108 is prominently considered as key verses. So that's what we're going through sequentially. Harinam Kirtan Prabhu is arranging different devotees to speak different verses. So today I got this opportunity to speak on this couple of verses. So that is the context for you, if in case somebody is joining new today. But you're welcome, please join regularly. So now this particular verse, Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, we're in 27th verse. Remember, Bhagavad Gita, please do not mind. Some of the points I make are for very, very newcomers. In case somebody is joining first time, second time, like that also, I'm making some points today. Please do not mind. This will be like ABC for some of you who have learned Bhagavad Gita for some time. So Bhagavad Gita has like 18 chapters. Though, so where we are in now is in second chapter right now. So we covered few of the slokas that were there in the first chapter earlier, and then second chapter also last session. Krishna Venu Prabhu and the devotee, he covered the second chapter verse also, one of the verses. Basically, the last session, if you remember, he was talking primarily about the existence of the soul beyond this material body. That means how we are in this body today, but we are actually a spirit soul within inside this body. So that was the concept Krishna Prabhu was covering last time, and this verse also falls into that particular section of analysis. Just in case somebody is joining new for today, I want to give a little bit more context on how Krishna arrives at this particular stage in this section. Very briefly, the way Bhagavad Gita starts in the first chapter is that Dhritarashtra, one of the king, he asked his servant Sanjaya, what did my sons and Kauravas or Kurus And then Pandavas, that is his brother's sons, Pandavas, they're called. What did they do when they assembled on the battlefield? Like that. That's how it starts. And then basically, Dhritarashtra is a king and a father of 100 sons, Kauravas. So he's eager to make sure his sons win the battle. His sons get the kingdom. So they'll become the kings like that. He's very eager to see his sons win and become kings like that and enjoy the kingdom like that. So that's how that starts. And then uh, the first chapter describes the armies on both the sides. First chapter also describes the Duryodhana, who's the elder son of this Dhritarashtra king, how is a devious nature, how is the envious nature, how he has a nature of so diplomatic. He wants to maneuver people, he wants to manipulate people, like that. All those things are described in the first chapter. So then also what is described is the fear that is produced in the hearts of the sons of this Dhritarashtra was also described, because when the different symptoms, like for example, when the Pandavas blew their conch shells, that shattered these hearts of this side, is described like that. Like that, that is also described, and several symptoms are there, or signs of victory are described in the first chapter. And after that, Arjuna requests that Krishna take the chariot right in between the two armies that are assembled to fight on the battlefield like that. So then Krishna is introduced as a chariot driver. That means Krishna is a supreme lord, but however, he's very happy to be like a servant for his devotees, to be serving his devotees like that. Generally, when a hero in a movie is introduced with great pomp and show, he will come with some great music and some special style and all like that. But in the Bhagavad Gita, our hero, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, is introduced as a servant, as a chariot driver of his friend and devotee Arjuna, like that. So Krishna takes pride in serving his devotees. So that nature somebody might have discussed. That nature is called Bhakta Vatsala nature. That means somebody who is so dear to his devotees, who wants to serve his devotees like that, who never fails in his affection for his devotees like that. So that's also described in the chapter 1, where Arjuna asks him to take the chariot in between the two armies. So Krishna takes between them, and then Arjuna, by the influence of Krishna, Arjuna gets bewildered. Bewildered means he suddenly, even though he came prepared to come to battlefield, he came prepared to fight with all the armors and everything, but still he suddenly get confused. Should I fight or not fight, like that? And then several reasons are described in the first chapter. At least 4 reasons are described in the first chapter. One of the reasons is that he feels compassionate. Oh my God, why do I need to kill all these people just for me to enjoy kingdom like that? And another reason is he thinks that even if I win over the battlefield after killing all these people, then what victory I will enjoy? There's not really enjoyment in that. My enjoyment will be tainted with blood, like that. So then third reason he thinks about is like, oh my God, if I kill all these people, I'll be getting so many sinful reactions. It's not worth taking so much of risk of getting sinful reactions just for the sake of winning this battlefield and enjoying some kingdom like that. And another reason he thinks about is that how if I engage in this battlefield, I'll kill so many people will be killed, so many will be killed, then women will be left unprotected, then family traditions will not go. So finally, unwanted progeny will come because women will get polluted because of some dishonest men will take advantage of women. So is this really worth it for me to fight? Like that, he gives 4 reasons in first chapter. And then second chapter, he finally
In
uh,
the talking about
he
preparing the
expresses his
food.
indecision, that he's not able to decide whether to fight or
That's
not, what to do, like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And
it's all
then
on the far
he
left.
finally surrendered to Krishna.
It's
That
really good.
I want to listen to you.
You're welcome.
Please tell me. You are just listening to me like a friend now,
On
but
the
I want
left.
to be your disciple. You become my teacher. You instruct me what is good for me, like that. That is the turning point in the second chapter, when Krishna starts to explain in this section the eternality of the soul that you discussed in the last session. That is a brief summary for anybody who's joining first time today, so that you have some background of the Bhagavad Gita. So basically, if I want to summarize again one more time, highly at a high level, first chapter, Arjuna expressed his apprehensions, his confusions in making decision whether to fight or not to fight. And then he gave what looks like very valid and logical arguments and why not to fight. So then now second chapter onwards, what Krishna is doing is giving transcendental knowledge to Arjuna to explain them why he should perform his duty and what is the bigger picture of whole life. What should be the paradigm of life? How should people make decisions? How should people see sufferings in the life? How should people see happiness in the life? How should uh, how should we focus on our goals? What is the right way we can develop our determination? And how do we select a guru? And then how do we practice devotion in such a way that we can achieve the goal at the end of the life? All that Krishna describes in the rest of Bhagavad Gita. So now back to this section. So far Krishna describes, one of the first instruction Krishna tells him is that we are a spirit soul, we are not this body. Like that. That is the first instruction Krishna describes with so much analysis, so many attributes of the soul he describes, how the soul never dies, how the body is perishable, how when we are changing bodies is like changing clothes. Like that, so many examples also Krishna personally gives like that. And he tells how soul cannot be destroyed with wind, fire, water, like that also. And then now we go to this section now. That is the whole context so far. Now, two beautiful verses we're going to cover today. So let us go to 227 verse, this verse. So I'll read the Sanskrit and then we'll read the translation purport also. So second chapter, the way to read this 2.27 means second chapter, 27 verse. And let's go through. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmadapariharyarta tasmadapariharyarte natvam sochitum arhasi. Okay, it's beautiful. Prabhupada writes synonyms also. We'll quickly go through. Jatasya, of one who has taken his birth. He, certainly. Dhruvaha, a fact. Mrityuhu, death. Dhruvam, it's also a fact. So you notice Dhruva is used twice. Dhruvam, fact. Janma, birth. Mritasya, of the dead. Cha, also. Tasmat, therefore. Apariharye, of that which is unavoidable. Arthe, in the matter. Na, do not. Tvam, you. Sochitum, to lament. Arhasi, deserve. Okay. So we'll go through the translation purport and we'll discuss whatever I understand about this verse from the senior devotees and our teachers. So translation and purport by Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. One who has taken his birth is sure to die. And after death, one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. That's the translation. This is what Krishna shared. Now, the purport is what Prabhupada is telling us, some more information, some more explanation for us to understand the verse properly and apply in our life like that. So let's go through that. Purport. One has to take birth according to one's activities of life. And after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, one is going through one cycle of birth and death after another without liberation. So you can imagine a cycle. You're born, doing some activities, and dying again, and taking another body as birth, like that, without going to liberation. This cycle of birth does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. So unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war are not encouraged. But at the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. The Battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event. and to fight for the right cause is the duty of a Kshatriya. Why should he be afraid of or aggrieved at the death of his relatives, since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, thereby become subjected to the reactions of sinful acts, of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives, and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action. Actually, this is a summary of the whole purport. By the way, this is another tip for you while reading Bhagavad. First sentence and usually the last sentence are powerful conclusion statements most of the time in purports. So we can pay more attention also. That doesn't mean you ignore the rest of the purport, but you put more concentration here. That's what I mean. Okay. So now let's go through discuss this wonderful purport also. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's go through. So what is just before this verse, what happens is Krishna is giving different reasons why Arjuna should fight. One of the reasons in the previous verse he talks about is, let us say somebody says, okay, all these things is belief only. This is not reality. There's no soul. Everything's made up of chemicals. We all bunch of chemicals only. With chemicals, we form a body. And at the time of death, we become chemicals again. There's no next life, nothing. Even if somebody argues like that. So if it's only chemicals, why are you worrying about them getting dying? Why are you worrying about your grandfather dying, your teacher dying, like that? Don't worry about it. Like that, Krishna takes it to the previous life, previous verse, 226 verse. Now he's continuing from this verse. Basically, this was what he describes is, so let us say,
basically,
there are two portions of this verse. Okay, we'll discuss.
The panda buzz and the corner buzz. So
Let us say, even if you do not believe in his soul, okay, this is the connection from the previous verse. Even if you do not believe his soul, that we are only just his body, nothing is there, no soul is there, nothing like that. Even if you say like that, but we can see with practical evidence that everybody who's born, they will die either after 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, 150 years. But everybody is dying in the material world here around us. That's our experience in the world. So that's going to surely happen like that. That is one point he's saying. Then let us say you accept that there is spirit soul, because he gave so much knowledge about spirit soul in the past several verses, right, in this chapter. Let us say you accept that there is soul. So, and you accept that there is reincarnation. So after death, one is sure to take birth again. That means the soul will get another body again for sure. It can be material body, it can be spiritual body. We can discuss that again. But you accept it that birth will come again, like that he's telling.
What's up, boys?
So now, this is the key point. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. What is he talking about here? Arjuna is a Kshatriya. He's on the battlefield. His duty is to fight. Some of us, our duty is to do office work. Our duty is to take care of our family. Like that, right? So, Krishna is encouraging us to do our duties. Krishna is not encouraging to stop doing duties. That is another misconception some people have. Oh, if you read Bhagavad Gita, we'll stop doing our duties. That's not what Krishna's message is. In fact, whole Krishna's message is about doing the right duty. Understand what is the right duty and perform it like that. So he's saying, even if you do, let us say you don't fight now. Okay. That means Bhishma, your grandfather Bhishma, your teacher Drona, all these people will not die. No, they will die. Either today or next year or in 1 decade or in 10 decades, they will die. So, but then, so that is anyway happening for sure. Now, in order to save them, let us say you don't do your duty, then what will happen? Actually, you will get sinful reactions. It's not good for you. So like that, he's explaining in a brief context, the high-level meaning I'm describing now so far. That's why he's encouraging Arjuna to fight here. That means do his duty. So now the purport, Prabhupada gives wonderful lessons for us. So one of the key principles Prabhupada is giving in the first paragraph is
Yeah, I'm
that
I'm
our
okay.
this birth,
Yeah.
which body we got today, whether I got a man body, woman body, animal body, insect body, fish body, like that, right?
Yeah, no.
That birth is designed based
I
on
know.
the past
I'm in the
activities.
Bhakti
That
Yoga
means
Club.
whatever activities I've done in the past lives, based on the activities and based on the desires that I cultivated, I'll get a
No,
particular form of the body. That is
yeah.
one thing we can clearly
No,
understand.
there was like
Now,
one really
now
scummy, like
the particular situation I'm in this particular life, the particular circumstances I'm getting, they are dependent on the past
There
circumstances
was
I
that
did,
one
past
guy.
activity I did,
I was
their
I'm
reactions from
like,
that past life.
I'm like,
That's
I
called
like
karma
running
commonly, right?
but I don't
I'm
want to
not
be
going
like,
into full detail, but I'm giving you some
everything I do,
principles.
I'm like,
So,
like, here's honey,
however,
it's gonna be okay. Just
this particular circumstance I'm born in a male body, for example, or female body now. I'm born
yeah.
in America or
There's a
India
bunch of
or
like right
a
people
particular
that are like
situation,
the
particular
ones that
family culture, like that.
personally have a copy
This is
of the
all based
Gita.
on past
I
karma.
need to read it more,
But
but that's
what I can do now, what activities I can perform now is in my
yeah,
hands, my
yeah,
control.
Bhagavad Gita as it is.
How
That's
much
probably
control is again questionable. We have a limit on how much independence we have, how much control according to circumstances we have. But we have a choice to do what we need to do, what we want to do in our life.
And everything.
That's the
He
important
said,
principle to understand.
basically,
Many
he took
people
all
get depressed thinking that, oh my God, I'm stuck in this situation. I can't do anything. I can't get out of it. I'm done. Like that they'll think.
Chaitanya
But that's
Charitamrita,
not true.
the piece
We
of the
all have a free will choice. The free will choice can be
so he was an Indian
avoid the
saint.
circumstance by
I
going away
mean, the
somewhere. Free
incarnation
will
of
choice
Radha.
can be struggle in that circumstance
Like,
to learn a lesson or to win over the
everything is
situation.
like a
Any one
perfect.
of those any of those things can happen.
Important when you
So,
base that work.
so we all have a choice to make. In fact, by
I mean,
learning Bhagavad Gita and by learning the principles of Bhagavad Gita and by cultivating life full of principles and values of Bhagavad Gita, we can actually realize how many choices we have. Otherwise, I will think I only have two choices. But we can realize when we go to advanced devotees or advanced yogis,
oh,
the
that's
same
cool.
situation, I see two choices, but they see 10 choices in the same thing or 5 choices in the same thing.
Right,
So
right.
that is it. We can also get there. We can also develop that vision and that consciousness to have the clarity to make decisions, to have the clarity to see through the situations, understand what are the right choices we can make like that. And we can also see the principles, learn the principles to make decisions also.
I mean, it sounds
I see
interesting.
Sam Prabhu unmuted. Did you have any question or comment, Prabhu?
Narendra, can you mute Sam
No?
Prabhu?
Okay. Okay, let me mute Sam Prabhu. Okay. One second. Okay. Okay, good. Let us go. In case you need to unmute, let me know, Sam Prabhu. You can unmute yourself also. Yeah. So let us go through what I was telling. Yeah, I was telling. So even though based on the past activities, we get this body, we have a choice at any situation. That's one point I was telling. So then is Prabhupada is describing that one has to die to take birth for the next again. So that means after the activities we perform in this life, we determine our next body. As you attend these Bhagavad Gita sessions regularly, you'll see how that is determined by activities, what we do now, how we determine the next reactions we get, next body we get, like that's already known. So now this process is called cycle of birth and death. Okay. Sometimes you hear a word called samsara. So this is the cycle of birth and death means we take birth, do some activities, because of that we incur some reactions, and then we die, and then we take another body, and then again do the activities and again die. Like that, it's keeping on going like a circle, right? Like a cycle. That's what it's talking about. So notice, without liberation, we're going around like this, birth after birth, life after life. So now in the future classes, you'll know how to break this cycle. In fact, even also today also we'll discuss some of it. How to break this cycle and how to get liberation. That means how to get out of this cycle of birth and death and get to a permanent life of happiness. We'll talk some more about it today also. So now Prabhupada is describing how this, just because anyway everybody is taking birth, anyway everybody is dying, so it doesn't matter. So I can kill anybody, everybody I see I can kill. Somebody can come to a wrong conclusion, right? That's why Prabhupada, Prabhupada, that's why Prabhupada is telling us clearly, so that we don't misunderstand and misapply the principles of Bhagavad, that it does not support unnecessary murder, unnecessary slaughter, and unnecessary war. So remember, intelligence is described, someone is intelligence, I don't know how to say it, let me see. So actually, an intelligent person is one who can keep two opposite views at the same time in the mind. Okay. So as we become students of Bhagavad and as we grow in our devotion to Krishna, this principle also we can learn, and this will develop this skill, these values. For example, here we are hearing we should not do unnecessarily violence, and opposite instruction what we're saying is, but sometimes violence is important, like that. So as you read Bhagavad, we'll learn to harmonize these things properly. So how can we understand this properly? That means unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. That means if there's no real value, no real reason to do it, we should not engage in it. Or if I don't have authority, or if I'm not a judge, I cannot order somebody to be killed. It's not my prerogative. Or if I'm not the military man, I cannot kill anybody, like that. But at the same time, if I'm given authority as part of the government or something, I'm a military person, then I'm authorized to kill people to maintain law and order, to maintain safety, like that. So that's other reason Prabhupada is describing here. So it doesn't give us a, oh, anyway everybody's going to die, so I'll go and kill anybody and everybody I want. No, that's not supported. That's not pleasing to Supreme Lord. Okay, next paragraph. So this war that Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to do his duty with is an inevitable event. How come? Because Krishna personally tried to stop the war, but he could not succeed, because the reasons are, Krishna had in different reasons also why that could not happen also. There are many angles you can discuss that, but essentially Krishna personally tried to stop it also. But then he wanted to make sure there's a good ruler, good king who takes care of the people nicely, so they can eternally be happy, like that. That is why the war had to happen like that. So now, so here Prabhupada is, I mentioned the last sentence is important, right? So by doing the duty, if he, let us say Arjuna doesn't do his duty, Arjuna doesn't fight, does it mean that death will stop for the relatives? No, they will die either today or sometime. That's one point Krishna is making. Second point is, Arjuna, if he doesn't do his duty that is enjoined to do, like a student's duty is to study, parents' duty is to take care of children. And that means that includes earning money, doing office work nicely, and getting food, cooking food, and providing them clothing, like that, right? Like that, each of us has duty. Arjuna has a duty to fight. So if he doesn't fight, he will be degraded due to this wrong path of action is describing Prabhupada. So that is the essence of this verse. Now, I'll try to take out some practical application for this for us from this one, right? Based on what we heard from previous teachers, what I heard from previous teachers. So, so when we hear these statements about death, it can produce terror in us. It can produce trauma in us. It can make us worry, like that. But, and many times people, most of us don't want to accept that death will come to us. Many times we think that either we don't accept fully, or we think that we'll die after a long time, not anytime soon, like that. And other point too is from this we can clearly understand death is unavoidable. Nobody can avoid death. But one thing we can do as devotees, if we practice Bhagavad principles as yogis, which is we can avoid the trauma of the death. We cannot avoid death. We all need to die. But we can die peacefully by avoiding the trauma of death. That is one important principle Bhagavad teaches us. So, for example, why do people go to the trauma of death? Because generally we all have this experience. Our grandmother, our grandfather, our great grandmother, when they pass away, we feel loss in our heart and we feel bad. We lost their association like that, right? So that is because of our attachment towards them. So we feel pain when somebody close to us we lose. Imagine similarly, if we lose something valuable that we have, some wonderful book we're reading that we lost, or a lot of money we lost, whatever it is, when we're attached to that money, we'll feel bad also for that. Similarly, at the time of death, because most of us are in bodily conception, thinking that we are this body and everything related to body is mine. We're in that conception and we develop attachment to our body, attachment to things related to our body. Because of that, at the time of death, what happens is, so remember, if one person is going away, if one item is going away, we're feeling so much pain, right? At the time of death, you can imagine everybody is going away. I'm leaving this body. That means all relationships are dying at one time in the one sense. And everything I have is going away from me. I cannot take anything with me. So that is the trauma that ordinary person who's in bodily conception faces. Whereas when we learn the principles from Bhagavad Gita by regularly studying it and with guidance, then we can understand there is something higher than this. That is a goal of life. And we can develop a higher consciousness. What is that? We learn from the spiritual knowledge Bhagavad Gita teaches, not only that we are a spirit soul, but also we are a spirit soul in relationship with Krishna. So we have a relationship with Krishna to serve him in love and devotion. So what happens is, by following Bhagavad Gita principles, we are actually cultivating remembrance of that Krishna in our life. By cultivating, how do we do that? By Bhagavad Gita gives the principles of simple things like chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra regularly. Most of you might know Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That is the simple and sublime method Krishna recommends for this age, to regularly chant every day and cultivate this knowledge and practice, apply in our life, so that we can grow in our bhakti, grow in our attachment to Krishna, like that. So now the key principle. So by practicing bhakti, by learning Bhagavad Gita and practicing meditation simultaneously, what we're doing is we're developing attachment to Krishna instead of attachment to body, attachment to things related to body. Now, what is happening? While we're developing attachment to Krishna through bhakti, I will feel more and more presence of Krishna in my life. So then at the end of the life, when death is coming, then by that time I'm instituted in the right consciousness that Krishna is always with me and Krishna will come with me wherever I go. So, and we are situated in understanding that even after death, I'm not dying, I'm a soul. After death also, I'm going closer to Krishna, and ultimately I'm going to have an eternal life with Krishna beyond this death. So that realization we have. So because of that attachment towards Krishna and because of that higher realization and higher consciousness, we will rise beyond the bodily trauma that death normally causes for most common people in this world. But by practicing principles from Bhagavad Gita, we can raise above that bodily consciousness and the trauma of the body to a devotional absorption in our Lord's loving embrace. Like that, we can get to that level of Krishna's attachment to Krishna and remembrance of Krishna and the confidence that Krishna is there and Krishna will take care of us. With that higher consciousness, we don't feel so much trauma and pain that ordinary person feels like that. That's a principle we can learn from this verse, and get inspired to practice Bhakti Yoga by learning Bhagavad principles and applying in our life, and also by chanting regularly every day like that. More can be said, but I see the time is already 7:38. So I'll try to go to the next verse that we wanted to discuss, which is 2.40 verse. So that way we can discuss a little bit, and I'll open up for any comments or discussion also. So let's go to 2.40. Okay, I'll read the verse briefly. Neha bikrama nasosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapi asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. By the way, this verse is one of the favorite verses for lots and lots of devotees in iskcon. So not only iskcon, actually, any devotees anywhere, is one of the famous verses and one of the very favorite verses for many devotees. So because of the time, I'll go to the translation. In this endeavor, there's no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. So I'll read a couple of sentences and then we can discuss considering the time. Activity in Krishna consciousness, or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification, is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Wonderful. So this is the line I'll read. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. So this is a beautiful line that motivates lots of devotees to engage in devotion service day after day, nicely like that. So we'll discuss about this verse. Because there's no time, I'm not reading the purport. I read it before the session a couple of times. So I'll share with you some of the principles from this verse. So now, what is Krishna saying here? The context of this verse, by the way, is that, remember Krishna explained that we are a soul, we are not this body, like that before. And he explained the importance of doing prescribed duty in the previous set of verses, like that. And then now he's transitioning to another section where he's describing that, remember I told you that in first chapter of Bhagavad, Arjuna gave 4 reasons, and second chapter last reason comes out. One of the reasons Arjuna says is that, oh my God, if I kill all these people because of me to enjoy kingdom, I'll get so many sinful reactions like that, right? So that is the argument Krishna is going to reason it out and defeat it in this particular section of Bhagavad. What is the argument in simple terms? He says, the technical term used is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. That means perform your prescribed duty, but with detached work. So when you work in detachment, then you will not get any sinful reactions. That is the level Krishna is describing. In the later chapters of Bhagavad, Krishna describes more about bhakti. How when you perform bhakti, you don't get any sinful reactions like that. In fact, your past sinful reactions also go away, like that he describes. But at this verse stage, Krishna didn't take Arjuna to bhakti level yet. He's just talking about how spiritual path, yoga, is wonderful like that. He's talking about buddhi yoga in this particular case. So that is the essence of this verse, is that Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you practice a spiritual path of yoga, like bhakti yoga, then it's only even little attainment you make, that will stay permanently to your credit. It's an eternal credit. It's for your eternal bank balance like that. Not temporary bank balance, eternal bank balance like that. That is what he's trying to encourage here. So you see the words, no loss or diminution. And we read the purport also. One is whatever little achievement we made in spiritual life, by going to temple, by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, by reading Bhagavad Gita, by serving someone in the temple, or by doing some service at the temple, by doing at home, by offering flower to Krishna, by offering a fruit to Krishna, by offering some water to Krishna, by offering a simple prayer to Krishna. Whatever we do, there's no loss. It will never go. Whatever with that prayer, with that offering, whatever we gain, that will never be lost. It will never be wiped away. That's number one point. Number two, that will not even reduce also. Not only it will not fully go away, but it will not decrease also. The whatever achievement we got through that spiritual life we did. So that's a beautiful point. Why? Anything we do in this life today, whether I earn a lot of money, or I cook a lot of food, or I whatever enjoyment I try to make, everything will go away in time, either in few minutes, few hours, few days, few weeks, few months, few years, few decades, or at the time of death finally. Nothing is coming back with us. But whatever we do in spiritual life, learning one verse of Bhagavad Gita, learning some principles from Bhagavad Gita and applying in our life, that can never be wiped out. That will stay with us permanently, even after this life when you take the next body also. That is, it is for our eternal credit. So this is the best thing Krishna is trying to describe. So that way, before Krishna describes the detailed knowledge of what to do in yoga, he's encouraging him that, Arjuna, do you know, if you do this spiritual path, there's no loss. So you can pay attention and do it like that. So now, what is that we're going to gain in this life that will stay with us in next life? Is it that if I remember I was giving examples of prayer, Bhagavad Gita verse like that. But does it mean that if I learn a Bhagavad Gita verse, after leaving the body, when I'm born in the next life, I'll remember that Bhagavad Gita verse? That's also possible by Krishna's mercy, but that is not the message here, primary message here. The primary message is that when we practice spiritual life and when we're trying to attain eternal, gain something eternal, our relationship with Krishna, then we'll develop some attraction for Krishna. That Krishna is the Supreme Lord, right? So we'll develop some attraction for the Supreme Lord. That attraction, whatever attraction we can get through little bit of devotion service we perform, that will stay with us eternally forever for our spiritual benefit. So that is the difference between getting some money, getting some comfort to sleep. All those things will go away. But when we develop some attraction to Krishna, when we develop some service attitude for Krishna, that will never go away. Meaning in the next life, we'll start from there. In fact, Prabhupada used to commonly describe, let us say I do bhakti 10% this life. In the next life, I don't start from 0% again. I'll start from 1%. But whereas if I do a bachelor's of engineering degree this time, next life I need to start from ABCD, LKG, kindergarten and nursery, whatever they call it in this country. Right? I'll start from basics again. That is the fate of the material accomplishments. Whereas spiritual accomplishments like attraction for Krishna, service attitude towards Krishna is for our eternal credit. It will never go away. So even if somebody practices devotional life, let us say for 5 years, and after that they feel, oh my God, this is too much for me. This is not for me. Even if they go away after that, whatever they did in the 5 years is for their eternal credit. They're not falling down permanently. They're temporarily falling down. Because another glorious thing about bhakti, especially about bhakti yoga, is if you practice bhakti yoga now, if you start bhakti yoga now, we're for sure going to get a human body at least next life. Because Krishna wants to help us. Krishna is loving. So Krishna wants to give us another opportunity to perform bhakti, which is only possible in human life in most of the circumstances. So that is why we can be saved from animal life also. In fact, this verse is saying, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. What is that most dangerous type of fear? Most dangerous type of fear is to be born in animal kingdom. That is what is the fear, dangerous type of fear. Because if you go into animal kingdom, it takes a long time to get a human birth again, and you don't have the intelligence to ask intelligent questions. Why am I here? Why am I suffering like that? So, but if you perform bhakti, little bit of bhakti now, then you can be saved from going to animal kingdom, and you'll get a human life again, and you'll get an opportunity to perform bhakti again. So that's the beauty of bhakti yoga, practicing bhakti yoga, practicing a spiritual path in the context of this verse. So now, a few more things, a few more points I'll mention, and then I'll open up for questions also. So now, when we understand that spiritual path, when we invest some time, some energy, some enthusiasm in it, it has some eternal, everlasting benefit, then that should motivate us to invest our time, energy, and enthusiasm towards the spiritual life also. Otherwise, whatever investment of time, energy we're making for all the material endeavors, it will not last forever. That doesn't mean we should not earn money. That doesn't mean we should not study. We should make time for spiritual life also. That is the important principle. That way, when we can invest our most valuable asset. What is the most valuable asset? Our most valuable asset is our consciousness. We should invest our most valuable asset in the in a substantial way, in a sustainable way, to get attached to the Krishna, like we discussed in the previous verse. When we develop attachment to Krishna, that is how we can develop our consciousness to higher level, right? This is possible through spiritual growth and through bhakti and through service mode. This is possible. This is elevation of consciousness and investing in spiritual life. So now, when we hear important verses like this, how anything little we do in spiritual life will give everlasting benefit, right? Then this should also motivate us to look at our priorities in our life. In fact, Bhagavad Gita helps us to prioritize our life properly, so that we can develop what is the right priorities in my life, and how do you situate myself with the right priorities, like that. How do I control my mind so that I can do whatever goal I want to achieve, like that. All the things Bhagavad Gita is going to explain for us. So sometimes people are so busy that we are so busy at doing things, but sometimes we forget to ask, are the things that I'm doing, do they matter? Or they don't matter? We don't question. So that's the important thing to consider also. Whereas Bhagavad Gita gives us what is most important for our life. Like, for example, we talked about the uh, uh, love for Krishna, the consciousness, attachment to Krishna we want to develop, right? So that is the real matter we need to focus our energy. So it's important to be busy with things that matter, not only things that don't matter. So that means spiritual life, again, just because I said we should invest time in spiritual life, I'm not saying you should not invest your time in doing exercise, eating food, cooking food, taking care of family, spending time with family, having some recreation. Those are not barred in spiritual life. Those are supportive to spiritual life, in fact. Because when you're in proper health, then you can do spiritual life properly, like that. So that way, it's a whole package in spiritual life. Uh, we can learn values from Bhagavad Gita and simultaneously chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. That way, we can grow in devotion service day by day with the association of devotees, by understanding the principles from scriptures, and by purifying our heart through chanting the process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So those are few thoughts on these two verses. I hope it made sense to some of you, some other things. Yeah, I'd be happy to hear if you have any comments or questions on this for discussing further also. I'll pause there. Anybody has any comments or questions? Yeah, if you have any comment or question, you can unmute yourself. I hope the setting is enabled to unmute yourself. Yeah, it's there. You can unmute yourself. Any comments or questions? It doesn't need to be something fancy. You can tell something you liked, one statement you liked, or one thing that made sense to you like that. That's also good comment. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Can you hear me, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
Okay. Yeah. Did you like it, or it was boring for you guys to listen to this thing? Anybody liked anything, or no? Is it too much tangential? Everything went away from the head. Anything made sense?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can't hear you guys. Let me see. What is it? You can hear me?
Yes, Prabhu. So now too, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect, bro. No problem. Thank you, bro. Good.
You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Prabhu. Thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Dipti Maharaji want to say something, so I can.
Oh, no, Prabhuji, please go ahead. I will go after you.
Okay, Mataji. Prabhuji, one thing you were mentioning about that the fear of death, that
Yeah.
when we think about it, when we see around it, it really makes scared. And especially we had seen in COVID times, it was really fearful situation, dreadful situation. Everyone, how people are, how relatives, families, like everybody's like, so many, you never know who will die when. It was just, we had that experience, and we know that one day we will also die. Still somehow or other that thing doesn't settle in our activities. That fear, we know, understand that, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Still, we don't get the seriousness to understand that and accept it like that, you're saying, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, that's right. That's what I was also describing. Yes, that's an unfortunate situation. Most of us want to not think about it or want to think that it will happen after a long time for us like that. So the way to overcome that is while we practice bhakti by daily chanting and daily practicing bhakti yoga principles like that we discussed, right? Then what happens is we start to give importance to long-term goals than short-term goals. Currently, you'll hear after probably in the next chapter about the modes of nature, how there are different modes of nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, like that. So right now, we are in a condition in such a way that we focus on short-term benefit. What can I get right now? That's all I care about. What is happening to me right now? That's all I care about. So slowly as we practice bhakti, we can actually develop focus for the long-term goals we have, even in the material life. Long-term, how I want to advance in the career in the next stage, how I want to be more healthier, more fit in body, how I want to learn this new skill that I love to learn for the last 20 years I wanted to learn, but I never made one single step. All those things will start happening. You will see a miracle. That long-term, what are the long-term goals? How do you strive towards them? That starts to come into picture. As we get there, then we also learn to see what is going to happen. We are also going to go to death at some point of time, like that. We'll slowly get the long-term vision basically. Then we'll question, why do we need to die? What happens at death? What happens after death? What can I do to make it peaceful? Like that questions will come. Then Bhagavad Gita will guide us, like I said today, that when our consciousness is uh, elevated from the bodily attachments to a higher level, then what happens is, then we will also, then we'll not feel so much pain that time. So, but the way to get to the get to seriousness of the situation is two things: continue practicing bhakti yoga. Number two, contemplate how my grandfather died, my father died, my friends are dying, my friends' parents are dying. Contemplate little bit to understand that is the inevitable happening for everyone like that. So that parallelly, when we do those two things, then the seriousness will slowly come about the importance of situation. Like, this is described in the world that many people don't write their will and estate plan. And because of that, so much money is stuck in the government. The family, loved ones, everybody is struggling for their family. Sometimes people work so hard without eating food, lunch also. But then at the end of when they pass away, the family cannot get the money from them because government takes it first. There's so much fight to get the money from government, it seems, because there are some special rules. You need to go to court and case and all that to get the money. But instead, if all of us take the death seriously and write our will, then our family can have it. In fact, I also need to do it. Still, I'm also delaying it, see. So like that. But it can happen slowly. As we grow in our devotional life, as our consciousness elevates, we can see the importance of dealing with the inevitables, dealing with the long-term consequences. That way we can become serious on death also, and we take practical steps towards it. Yeah. Those are some thoughts, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, one more thing. I think I recently was thinking some time back on this same thing.
Mhm.
One small realization came.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking in a fearful manner,
Yeah.
death being in a fearful point or time, or instead of thinking in a negative way, thinking in a positive way. Oh, that's so wonderful. That is the time to meet Krishna. That is the time when I'll be free from this material miseries of body. Like that. That's a for a lover, that's a meeting time going to the spiritual world. I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly.
I
Wonderful,
was
Prabhu. Yeah.
thinking in a positive way, so that I won't be regret or lament at that situation. Oh my God, I'm leaving this. Instead of I'll be happy and joyful, I'm going to serve Krishna in some way or other.
Yeah. Very nice point, Prabhu. Yes. That's what I was describing, that that's what we're, through bhakti, we're elevating our consciousness to a higher level from the bodily attachment to that devotional absorption, like you're saying, in Lord's loving embrace. So we're thinking that we're going to Lord's loving embrace as we go approaching death, like you're describing. Yeah. Nice point, Prabhu. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So I'm just going to extend from Harinam Prabhuji's last point.
Sure.
So just like in your first shloka, you mentioned about the cycle of death and birth, and how if we like remember Krishna every day, engage him in our day-to-day life, then we can ultimately like make ourselves understand that at a point I have to leave this body, it's natural. Then probably I'll be even going closer to Krishna and take new life and stuff. But what is the limitation or determining factor that okay, you have done enough of bhakti, now you're coming to my dham? Like what is that point? Can we understand that okay, after this life I am going to dham, I'm not coming back to this world again?
Sure. Yeah. There are few devotees who understand that point also. But even before that death point, right? Even right now, we all need to see, am I progressing in bhakti or not? That's an important question all of us need to see. Am I just listening? Am I just having some pious entertainment, or am I growing in bhakti? That's an important question to ask ourselves. So the way to find out the answer for that, there are many frameworks in bhakti that helps us to gauge whether I'm growing or not. So one simple framework that Prabhupada gives in Bhagavad, Srimad Bhagavatam purport, is that, is my attachment to material things reducing? And is my attachment to Krishna and things related to Krishna increasing?
Mhm.
Then if we measure these two, then we can really see, am I progressing or not? That is a clear indication that we're progressing, number one point.
Mhm.
But then as we get closer to death, one of the things we need to see is, am I beyond the bodily conception? Am I situated in the mood of serving Krishna? Am I able to see every situation as service opportunity to serve Krishna? Am I seeing everything in connection with Krishna? So these are the other things that we can also see. So some devotees, for example, there's a Maharaj, his name is Bhakti Swami Maharaj. When he was passing away from this world, when he's disappearing from this world, he had cancer, some kinds of cancer that causes a lot of pain in the body, it seems. I think it's melanoma cancer, if I'm not wrong. Basically, some lot of pain in the body. But, his god brother, that means he's another sannyasi who came. Radhanath Swami Maharaj was there, it seems. So he was describing to him at that time, it seems, that, it never gets better than this. So is experiencing that eternal relationship with Krishna even while in this body itself. Forget about after death. Who's going to see post-dated checks like that, right? Somebody might think. Even while in this body, is feeling like that. That is at the extreme stage. That means he knows already that is going to there, like that. That is another example I can give. And similarly, as we see devotees who are advanced, they might be, I've known devotees or Prabhupada's disciples who are bankrupt. They don't have any money. Still, they're so happy and they're doing service like ever fresh. How can they do that? Because they know this is just temporary. My service to Krishna is the most important thing for me and it's pleasing to Krishna. And they're happy with it also. Not like they're grudgingly doing it. Oh my God, I need to somehow do it properly so that way I'll go back to Krishna later on. Not like that. They're so happy. That means they're feeling that experience. Even for us also, we can see, am I experiencing some taste at least? We can see also as we practice our devotion. Then we'll also feel the taste, and even though it feels like a struggle for us sometimes, or chanting or any practices that we're doing, but we can also feel some taste in ourselves also. Like that. So devotees also can perceive that we're going back to Krishna at the end of the life. And Krishna also invites us. Krishna, if Krishna likes to, he can also reveal to us at any point of time also, even within this life also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
That was
welcome.
really nice.
Yeah, welcome.
Hare Krishna. Can I bring up another point?
Sure, Ravi Prabhu. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Yeah, there are occasions in history we have come across a lot of saints. They have attained samadhi, right? When they attain the samadhi, they know that I'm thinking whether that's correct. I'm asking, if that's a way we should interpret. When they attain the samadhi, that means they think that this is the time for them to leave the body and reach the the heaven or the God's feet, right? So they think that that's a time. So they probably call the shots literally. Is it the way it is?
Yeah, very good point. Yes, in Bhagavad, Krishna says what you're talking about. Basically, you probably heard about Bhishma Dev in Mahabharata also.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
He's a good example, right? Yeah. He had the will to leave the body whenever he wishes to, like that. And he wanted to see in Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam is another scripture, many of you might know, that describes how Bhishma Dev wanted to see Lord Krishna face to face. In what form? In a Pardasarthi form. That means he's riding the chariot of Arjuna like that. You want to see that form so that he wants to go back to Vaikuntha Loka. So while he was seeing the Lord, he left the body like that. That is one example. And we also know Ashtanga yogis, they leave the body at the right time of life by taking their soul goes through from the top of the head is described. So that's how they leave the body also. So they also have, again, this is different levels of perfection. Some may reach the spiritual world, but only go up to the Brahma Jyoti. Some may go to the planet of the God, where they actually have a relationship with the God. They enjoy with the Lord either by serving like a friend, like a servant, or like a father, mother, like that. We know about Krishna's mother and father, like that. Like that, different relationships everyone can enjoy. Yeah. Good point, Ravi Prabhu. Yes.
Yes, thank you. So, I mean, basically going back to the point that was made previously, the person, Bhishmacharya or any saint who has reached that stage, they know when they can break the cycle of, coming back to the earth, right? Basically taking the human form again, they know, and then they reach that stage, and then they either take the samadhi, or like Bhishmacharya, he could, basically, he could really decide when to leave this body. I mean, it doesn't happen to all of us.
Correct, exactly. You got it. Yeah, nice point, too. And also, good thing is, it, people can be at this body right now, and then be in liberated stage also. Advanced saints, like you're describing, advanced devotees, they are beyond the bodily conception while in the body itself. That means they're already situated in their relationship with Krishna like that. So that means they're experiencing that relationship with Krishna while in this body also. Like that also we know from examples from scriptures like that also.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
me?
Mata. Yeah, I can hear you, Mata. Go ahead. Yeah.
I it was a very good sharing. Thank you so much for explaining so clearly. I just had this thought that just came to me because you talked about death and how, at the point of death, if you're able to remember Krishna and serve Krishna, you can actually go to like Vaikundam or Goloka, right? So I was just thinking because, in other Indian or Hindu mythological stories, they will talk about how goddess Kali is also involved in giving you moksha, or how Lord Shani and Lord Yama are also involved in, evaluating your karmas. So I'm just wondering, how do all of this reconcile with Krishna?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, nice question. Yeah, it's a broad question also. So I'll touch few of the aspects at a surface level at least. One aspect is Goddess Kali. There's only our real Hindu theology or Sanatana Dharma theology is monotheistic. That means there's only one Supreme Lord or one absolute truth, Krishna calls it. So from whom everything and everyone came. There is only one source. If there's somebody beyond him, that means that other person is a God, not him, like that. So many of you participate in the journey of self-discovery course also. That was a point made there also. So like that one, there's only one Supreme Lord, that is Krishna. And many times some people think it's Narayana, but both are in Vishnu Tattva. That is a different discussion. But Krishna is the absolute, one absolute truth is there. Then that absolute truth, Krishna, has many energies. One such energy is Maya Devi or Kali, like you described, or Durga Devi, like that. And like that, Krishna has so many assistants for him, so many demigods, like Indra, Chandra, or moon god, sun god, like that, right? All of them are administrated demigods. They're helping him in carrying out the activities in the material world, in this world. So similarly, Durga Devi or Kali Devi is in charge of this material world to help people to get the enjoyment that they want to get, or to get punishments that they do, like that. So in that sense, she is a subservient of Krishna. That is number one point I want to share. Number 2 point is Yamadharma Raja or Yamaraja. He is also one of the subordinates of Supreme Lord. He is a empowered personality. In fact, he is a great devotee. In the Srimad Bhagavatam literature, he is described as one of the 12 great devotees, like that, Mahajanas it's called. So he's one of the greatest devotee of Supreme Lord. And he's entrusted the functionality, like you described, of deciding who has done what piety, who has done what impurity. So how much enjoyment, where should they enjoy, where should they suffer, like that. He has a function or job role or job description to assign a particular situation for somebody to enjoy, or a particular situation for somebody to suffer. So like that, that is the role of Yamaraja, like that. Second aspect I want to mention. So we talked about how Kali is the energy of Krishna and she has a particular function in the material world. Similarly, we talked about Yamaraja, how he is a subservient to Krishna and is a great demigod and devotee also. And he has a particular function or job description on deciding what to happen for a conditioned soul, for a living entity like each one of us. Now there is another important principle that we need to remember. What is that important principle? That if there is somebody who is engaged in bhakti yoga, the devotional process of yoga, bhakti yoga is considered You'll see as you read the coming verses, key verses in the next chapters, you'll go to something called yoga ladder topic will come. You'll see out of all the yogas, topmost is bhakti yoga. So when we perform bhakti yoga, there's a special privilege. Krishna personally takes care of bhaktas or devotees. And Yamaraja says to his servants, Yamadutas we call them, this is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto, he tells them, anybody who offers obeisance to Supreme Lord, anybody who chants the holy name of the Lord, then don't bring them to me. Like that he tells personally. That means these devotees are not even going to see Yamaraja, not even going to go to hell like that, because they'll be provided another opportunity to take a human birth to continue their devotion from wherever they left like that. So that's so. And the fourth aspect I want to mention is, remember you talked about how Kali could give liberation or moksha like that, right? That is the clarification I want to give also. Our scriptures clarify that only Vishnu Tattva's forms of the Lord can give liberation. That means Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, Vishnu, Narayana, Venkateshwara, Kurmavatara, all these kind of Vishnu avatars, we call it Vishnu Tattva forms. Only they can award liberation, not Kali or Durga. They cannot award liberation from this material world. The maximum they can award is wonderful life in heavenly planet. So you can enjoy for millions and millions of years of life. But then after enjoying, you have to come back and suffer in this life only. But only Vishnu Tattva forms of life like Krishna, Rama, Narsimha, Varaha, Kurma, like that, right? Venkateshwara, like this. Only Vishnu Tattva forms of the Lord, they can award liberation to the spiritual world. That is Vaikuntha planet, Dwaraka, Goloka, Ayodhya, like planets, where once we go there, we don't have to come back. We can enjoy permanently there. And in fact, our bliss keeps on increasing there, it seems. So that is and through Bhakti Yoga Path, we can go to one of those spiritual world, one of those planets in the spiritual world. So that is, so basically Vishnu Tattva forms only can give liberation for us. Yeah, that makes sense, Madhu, so far?
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Any other comments or questions, anyone? Okay, if not, I'm thankful to you that you chose your time. You could have done lots of things in the same amount of time. You chose this 1 hour 15 minutes to spend with understanding the spiritual knowledge. Whatever you spent, even this 1 hour 15 minutes you spent time, Krishna appreciates. Krishna is so grateful. It's described in scriptures. He's a Kritagna. Is grateful for this, and he rewards us accordingly with lots of blessings for us. So please continue joining. You'll hear more as the Bhagavad progresses. You'll hear more wonderful key verses coming up in the next few chapters. So please continue regularly joining, and also if your situation permits, please try to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra regularly every day, at least a little bit of time every day. That way you can progress in devotion service nicely. Yeah, we can end here then. Let's offer obeisances to our acharyas. Sri Prabhupada ki jai. And also let's offer obeisances to devotees also. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kupasindubhye vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namaha. The meaning of this mantra is, I offer my obeisances to all the devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. So like that, when we pray to the devotees, we'll get the blessings of the previous teachers also. Yeah. Okay, we can end here then. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank